The world is in a state of shock. Iran has decided to fully reopen the Strait of Hormuz waterway. The Islamic Republic had always sworn it would never open as long as the United States continued to threaten the nation. 4 weeks, Iran had held the strait hostage. 4 weeks, global oil markets had trembled. For weeks, the world had waited to see who would blink first. Now, Iran has blinked. But the decision did not come in a vacuum. It came after at least 16 U.S. warships, along with nearly 10,000 troops, 100 American aircraft, the USS Aramco, and multiple destroyers arrived in the Gulf to patrol waters that had been completely closed to Iranian ships. The closure was total. No ships could enter the strait to pick up supplies from Iran. Even ships carrying supplies from the Persian Gulf were unable to leave. The Strait of Hormuz, both inbound and outbound, was completely sealed by the U.S. Navy. Before Iran's decision, a senior U.S. official referred to as Hansen issued a stark warning. The negotiations taking place in Pakistan, he said, would determine the fate of the strait. Iran must accept all of America's conditions. Otherwise, Iran would face a new and harsh war, a powerful attack using the latest American weapons. Hansen claimed these were weapons the United States had not yet used against Iran. The warning was clear, and apparently it worked. Iran agreed to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, but the factors behind Iran's decision are serious. Hansen warned that if Iran does not comply with all of America's conditions, including dismantling its nuclear weapons program, delivering its uranium stockpiles to the United States, and ceasing support for armed militias across the Middle East, the consequences will be severe. Hansen and President Trump both warned that Iran must accept America's conditions. Otherwise, the United States will end the 14-day ceasefire. There will be no extension. Instead, there will be a new national war. Hansen stated, echoing Donald Trump, that the naval war has already been won by the United States. There is no possibility of Iran fighting the U.S. Navy and winning. Recent reports confirmed the process that led to the agreement to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. On April 16th, U.S. Secretary of War Hansen held a press conference outlining the latest American military campaign to pressure the Islamic Republic of Iran. He warned Iran to surrender to the U.S. war effort. As negotiations between the United States and Iran began, Hansen warned that the negotiating committee should start now. The second round of negotiations was already underway. Hansen issued a statement accusing the United States, though the phrasing is ambiguous, the meaning is clear. America is prepared to engage in a major war if the current regime in Tehran does not surrender at the negotiating table. The U.S.-Iran negotiations are moving into their most dangerous phase. The 14-day ceasefire is coming to an end. According to the terms of the ceasefire, the truce between Iran and the United States will end on April 20th. Donald Trump announced that Iran has only 48 hours left to prove its sincerity before the negotiations conclude. The United States also stated that its military force in the Middle East has increased significantly. U.S. troops and warships have been steadily arriving. The United States has deployed 15 warships, including the USS. If an attack occurs, it would completely undermine Iran's military strategy and key positions. Potential targets include power plants, nuclear facilities, and critical infrastructure across the Islamic Republic. The U.S.-led plan to close the Strait of Hormuz, considered the world's most vital waterway for oil and gas. Transportation has already been implemented, but Iran itself is losing enormous daily revenue as a result. According to Dr. Hansen, Iran could be losing just over $400 million every single day. The strait remains closed. The threat of the U.S. Navy and its control of the strait is a threat that the United States is using to suppress what it calls Iranian piracy and terrorism. The Iranian blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, from the American perspective, is not justified by any legal principles. The United States frames its actions as disrupting an international terrorist and piracy network. General Duncan Ken, chairman of the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff, stated that the United States has closed all access to the Persian Gulf. American forces are using international waters to block the entry of Iranian ships. Any vessel flying the Iranian flag or pretending to be Iranian must be turned back. According to the U.S. Central Command, since the blockade began. At least 11 tankers and other international vessels have been turned back. Many more have been detained and searched before being allowed to leave. Since the United States fully implemented the blockade, ships with ties to Iran have been forced to leave the strait. Most have not tried to break the U.S. embargo. Those that attempted to enter were intercepted and turned back. The United States has not attacked any of these ships even. Those with connections to Iran that might have been attempting to take hostages. The U.S. Navy has simply prevented them from crossing the red line. Hansen told reporters that the time for Iran to accept American conditions is now. If Iran does not soften its attitude, he said, if Iran does not understand the seriousness of America's conditions, then Iran will find itself in the most dangerous situation imaginable. Both the U.S. Secretary of War and President Donald Trump have now issued the strongest possible message against Iran. Donald Trump warned that Iran will not be given endless chances. Now, Iran must recognize that it will be in danger again, he said. Trump announced that the time for Iran to open the strait was limited to just 48 hours. On the day the 14-day ceasefire ends, the United States will not extend the truce. The Israeli Prime Minister announced that he has ordered all Israeli military forces to prepare fighter jets again to launch airstrikes on Iran if the talks scheduled to take place now fail. Once more, the Israeli Prime Minister warned that Iran cannot avoid war again. This would be a joint Israeli-American air war if Iran does not accept America's conditions for surrender. Israeli Defense Minister Ilkaz also warned that the current military operation would be more serious than Phase 1. The goal of the coming attack, he said, is to destroy all Iranian economic sites throughout the country to cut off the economic support for the Islamic Republic of Iran. This strategy is already being carried out in the Strait of Hormuz and along Iran's coastline. Targets include all power plants and factories. The threat from the U.S. Secretary of War seems designed to coerce Iran into. Both Hansen and Trump are trying to convey a sense of inevitability. Iran must accept America's terms or be destroyed. At this time, the question is whether the Islamic Republic of Iran and the Revolutionary Guards will surrender to the U.S. war effort or resist. Observers see that Iran is still capable of fighting the United States for a prolonged period between 1 and 3 months. But there are many factors working against Tehran. First is the economic factor. Iran's economy has been greatly reduced. Current income from oil sales and other industries has fallen by just over $435 million per day. Inflation in the Iranian market has reached nearly 200%. Iran is losing the cash reserves it had saved to pay the salaries of its army and national security officials. Second is the population. The vast majority of Iran's more than 90 million people, over 80%, are waiting for the Islamic Republic to fall. They will not support a regime they consider cruel and oppressive. The only Iranians who still support the regime are the children of Islamic Republic officials and the children of Revolutionary Guard generals. These families, tens of thousands of people, still support their parents' regime. They go out to demonstrate, to show their ability to resist any rebellion forces within the country. But observers and analysts see that these supporters are vastly outnumbered. If the Iranian people erupt, the uprising will be large and powerful, and it will happen immediately. Third is Iran's declining military capability. Iran's ability to use missiles and weapons to defend its positions and its leadership has been severely degraded. The U.S. Navy issued a statement confirming that Iranian warships are not capable of fighting at sea with American vessels. President Trump made the same statement. Secretary of War Hansen claimed that at least 70 Iranian warships have been destroyed. Iranian military bases on the coast have been completely destroyed. The air defense system is in ruins. According to the Department of Defense, Iranian fighter jets are not able to fly or drop bombs. They have been almost completely destroyed. Military and civilian airports have been destroyed. Ammunition storage sites, artillery storage sites, all destroyed. This has been confirmed by the U.S. military command. Iran now has less than 10% of its original missile capability. Israeli intelligence claims that Iran may have 500 missiles remaining. At this time, Iran is trying to dig up missiles that were hidden underground. They are being pulled up and prepared for use. But Israeli intelligence says they have captured images of where Iran's storage sites are located. If an air war breaks out again, those sites will be destroyed within hours. Fourth is Iran's diplomatic isolation. No country supports Iran except China, Russia, North Korea, and a handful of other communist dictatorships. No other nations are defending the Islamic Republic. The United Nations Human Rights Council has issued a statement calling the current Islamic Republic of Iran a genocidal regime. This has caused great embarrassment for Tehran on the international stage, especially because Iran took the Strait hostage, causing turmoil in global stock markets. Countries in the Middle East, especially the Gulf nations, that once considered Iran a potential ally now consider Iran a rogue state. They believe the Islamic Republic has made the Middle East, and particularly the Gulf region, insecure. Iran's retaliation against the United States has included attacks on Gulf country infrastructure. Countries that were targeted by Iranian missile and drone attacks include Bahrain, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates nations that were economically strong, had good diplomatic relations with Iran, and conducted trade with Tehran. Now, all of them strongly condemn the Islamic Republic. They are demanding that the UN Security Council send troops to liberate the Strait of Hormuz and intervene to stop Iran's violence. Observers have noted a growing difference of opinion among Iran's leadership. The conflict between the leadership of the Islamic Republic and the generals of the Revolutionary Guard is becoming visible. President Masoud Pezeshkian, Foreign Minister Abbas Aragh, and several other high-ranking officials who are still alive are now openly at odds with the military command. This division is making the Islamic Republic vulnerable to collapse. The majority of the population does not support the regime. The economy is in deep decline. The oil and gas industry, along with other industries, has been severely affected by the destruction caused by U.S. and Israeli air. President Pezeshkian has warned that the salaries of security forces could be cut in the coming weeks. He has called for measures to protect economic stability and control Iran's finances. But when he attempted to appoint a new official to take charge of the Ministry of National Intelligence, senior generals of the Revolutionary Guards immediately opposed the move. They believe the new intelligence minister must come from the ranks of the Revolutionary Guards. The generals are opposing the president's nominee. The appointment has not been sent to the supreme leader. It remains unclear who the real Minister of National Intelligence will be. Meanwhile, the son of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the late supreme leader, killed by U.S. and Israeli warplanes on February 28th, has not had the opportunity to lead the government. He is reportedly seriously concerned about the consequences of the bombing that killed his father and at least 7 other generals who were with him. The dead were followed by Mojtaba Khomeini, who was also severely wounded. According to reports, Mojtaba often loses consciousness. This has made the leadership of the Islamic Republic of Iran unstable without a clear leader. Donald Trump has stated that the current regime in Tehran has already changed. The leaders who took the hard line have all died. Moderate leaders, including the president, have also been killed. It is known that almost all of Iran's top generals have been killed by Israeli and U.S. warplanes during the 40-day air war. At least 50 Iranian generals have been killed. The number of wounded has reached nearly 100. According to intelligence reports from multiple sources, military experts still see Iran as able to withstand a U.S. war for between 1 and 3 months. However, if Iran's income and economy continue to decline and if internal unrest, rebellions, and real uprisings erupt, the Islamic Republic could fall much faster. The uprising, when it comes, will quickly bring down the regime. But the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and the Iranian regime have never admitted that they are losing the war. They continue to declare to the Iranian people that Iran will not surrender to the United States. The Islamic Republic has accused the United States and Israel of committing the most serious war crimes against the Iranian people. The Strait of Hormuz is open again for now, but Iran's decision to reopen the strait is not a victory. It is a surrender. It is the result of 16 U.S. warships, 10,000 troops, 100 aircraft, and a relentless economic blockade. Iran is losing $400 million a day. Inflation is at 200%. 80% of the population wants the regime to fall. The military has been decimated. The leadership is divided. The economy is collapsing. The only question now is whether the Islamic Republic can survive the coming weeks, and whether the Iranian people, 80% of whom are waiting for the regime to fall, will rise up to finish what the American military has started. The 48-hour clock is ticking. The world is watching, and the Islamic Republic of Iran is fighting for its life.